going on, my fellow movie nerds and geeks alike? I am currently riding my cruiser board on my way to the theater to go see Terrifier 3. Kind of excited, honestly. I've been kind of lukewarm on the first two. Like, I think they're good, they're a fucking great time, but I mostly watch these movies as like a spectacle of violence, brutality, and debauchery. Like, I'm not expecting any crazy story, but this looks like it's gonna be more of the same. I know what I'm gonna get from it. But ironically, the mall that houses my movie theater is where they just shot that Spencer's Terrifier commercial, so that's just a funny coincidence. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna get in there, and then afterwards I'll share my thoughts. Adios. Whew! Alright guys, so before I even begin and get into this, let me just warn you that there will be spoilers. So be forewarned if you don't want it ruined. Get out of here now. Alright guys, so I just got out of Terrifier 3. Was it as violent and disgusting and just debaucherous enough to make people puke and just shit themselves all over the theater? Yes, it was gross. Yes, it was disturbingly violent, but haven't all of them been so far? This one takes place 5 years after the events of part 2. The beginning of the film starts out with Art already dressed as Santa Claus, and he slaughters a whole family. As a matter of fact, he even hacks up a little boy with an axe within the first 5 minutes of the film. You don't see it, thankfully, but you do hear it and then get to see his smashed up body and body parts after the fact. And then we're transported back 5 years prior, immediately after the events of part 2, where a cop finds Art's body, and all of a sudden Art's body takes the cop's head, and Art and the woman from the insane asylum from the original film and Art are just on their merry way. And poor Chris Jericho, he returns in this one only to have his face and jawline ripped off by Vicky, the faceless girl, and Art's headless body as his newly fresh-born head laughs on. It's insane. And they go back to Art's hideout, and they just essentially lay dormant for 5 years. So 5 years later, we also get to be reintroduced to LaVera's character, Sienna, who has been having a hard time dealing with this event of everyone around her dying, her whole family being massacred by Art the Clown. She is in a psych ward, and she is about to go stay with her aunt and her uncle and their, I guess, who would only be described as her little cousin. Everywhere she goes, she's seeing like images of her dead friends. She can't shake this feeling that Art is still out there because they never found his body. And, you know, some people out there think she's responsible for all the killings. But she's trying to get on with her life. She's on heavy medication. And we also meet her brother, Jonathan, of course, who is played by Elliot Fulham. He's away at college, trying to move past all this stuff. So he is trying to, like, kind of keep Sienna on the back burner. But he's surrounded by all these people who are fascinated by him and their story, who have, like, true crime podcasts. It's silly and dumb. Art and the woman with no face can't lay dormant that long as a demolition crew comes into Art's old hideout. They are awoken and get slaughtered by Art and this woman. He ends up at a bar at one point and is just fascinated by Daniel Roebuck, who you of course remember from the Munsters and other horror movies, sitting with his buddy Clint Howard, who you'll remember from Ticks and Ice Cream Man, and he proceeds to slaughter all the people in the bar. I mean, you even get poor Daniel Roebuck shot with liquid nitrogen, and Art, like, slowly hits him with a hammer and starts breaking his body apart, a la, like, Jason X, which was a lot of fun. And then Daniel Roebuck had a moment where he was talking about how you never trust a Santa Claus unless he has a beard, so Art, like, peels off his beard to wear as, like, a mask. It's great. Steal his suit, cut off his beard, and wear it as part of a mask. He then ends up at the mall where Sienna just so happens to be shopping with her little cousin. He is the mall Santa Claus for a moment, and proceeds to hand out presents to all the boys and girls. And dude, this movie goes there. He hands one of the kids a present that is actually a bomb, and he blows up a bunch of kids at the mall. It is gnarly, dude. Very gnarly. Ends up at a frat party of sorts where Jonathan, Sienna's little brother, is, and he slaughters his roommate and girlfriend getting it on in the shower, which is probably the scene most people are going to talk about when they talk about this, because there's always one scene, like in part 2 is the bedroom scene, in part 1 it was the girl getting sawed in half scene. This one is going to be the shower scene where Art shows up with a chainsaw and proceeds to hack off a girl's tits and just chop her to little bits, cut her head, cut her in half, and then he saws off the boyfriend's arm, sticks the chainsaw up his asshole, and chops his penis off, and you see all this stuff, which is insane. And he does snow angels in all their blood. It's crazy. During all this, of course, Sienna is having her traumatic episode. She is having a real hard time dealing with all this stuff, and she's writing in a diary all the thoughts she has, all the things she's been seeing, and her little cousin reads the diary. It's a whole thing. We also bear witness to some of her dream sequences where she sees her father, which if you remember in the second one, it seems that her father had some kind of connection to Art the Clown. Her father is played by none other than Jason Patric from The Lost Boys, of course, which is really cool. All these cameos are great. You kind of get the essence that the father did know about Art the Clown and was preparing Sienna to become this kind of almost like hero to save the day from Art the Clown. She has this huge vision, and it's kind of cool, kind of gives a little backstory. And then eventually we get to a sequence where Sienna and Art the Clown are finally face to face. He's got her tied to a chair, and the woman with no face has her aunt tied up in a chair across from her, where Jesus Christ, they shove a pipe down her mouth and let rats crawl in it and eat out of her neck. And on the tree is her uncle, his head is the star, and Art is wrapping his intestines around like it's like garland and wreaths and stuff like that on the tree. It's gnarly and gruesome, and like, Jesus Christ, how much can they put this poor girl through? It's almost so mean-spirited that it's like hard to watch, and it's like, dude, enough is enough. And it's like kind of becoming less fun than it was. It's not as happy-go-lucky as it's been. It's really kind of fucked up. You know, you come to expect gnarliness from these movies, and this one certainly delivers on that front. All the practical effects are so insane and gross, and Jesus Christ, man, Damien Leone he knows what he's doing. Aw, were they attempting some religious undertones with Lure and LaVera wearing the crown of thorns? God, that's adorable, Damien Leone, but better luck next time. And then we're given some more backstory where we realize that Jonathan became aware that the little girl in the second one, the little girl that's kind of like a little Art the Clown, was Art's connection. As long as she's alive, Art's alive. So in this one, we learn that the woman with no face is now Art's person. Like, in order to kill Art, you have to kill this woman. Apparently off screen, Elliot Fulham, Jonathan, Sienna's little brother, is killed because we just see his face with all the skin taken off, and like Art puts the glasses on. I don't know. Have a main character killed off screen. It's kind of disrespectful, and This is where Sienna has her hero moment. In the middle of the movie, she went back to the Terrifier ride and dug up that sword that her father gave her that has these powers to kill Art the Clown. After Art is beating the shit out of her hands and all this stuff, she is given the sword, which she wrapped as a present to hide, stabs Art, and just proceeds to have a long battle with the woman with no face and Art the Clown, and she chops off the woman with no face's head. It's weird. It's almost like the woman with no head was trying to possess Sienna at one point. So like, they're trying to give this stuff a backstory, but it's just still not fully fleshed out there. In the end, she does pin Art the Clown down, but the woman with no head, all her blood like leaked onto the floor and creates like this gateway, I guess you could say, where Sienna's little cousin is dragged down into what I can only describe as like a pit of hell, a gate of hell, and Art is laughing at her, and boom, that's it. That's the end of the movie. Art the Clown is gone, he's not dead, and Sienna is left screaming, sad again, like her little cousin is gone into this abyss that we don't know what it is, which I guess can only be fleshed out in part 4. But Jesus, man, like, come on, no finality. I did read somewhere that Damien Leone said this was almost like his Empire Strikes Back, like connective tissue between, which I guess is going to be all of these together. I really enjoyed part 1 and 2 of the Terrifier movies. Like, I thought they were okay. Like, I was lukewarm on them. They're mostly spectacle pieces, you know? They're just almost vehicles to watch ultra violence and see all these awesome practical effects. There's not like a great story there, and I think in Terrifier 3 you kind of get the same thing here. Yes, it's fun seeing Art the Clown kill people on Christmas this time, but I wouldn't really even call it much of a Christmas story. It was still great. I just kind of wish, God, flesh out the story already. Like, we do get some answers. Like, we do get that piece about the woman with no face almost being like the vehicle for Art this time, and having him have like a sidekick around this time was a little interesting. But what the hell happened to the little pale girl? Like, we don't even get to see her at all in this one. That was a little weird. But damn, like, we still don't get the story with her father fully fleshed out again. It was cool to see that it was Jason Patric was her father, and all the cameos of like Tom Savini being on the newscast, like almost like a tribute to Dawn of the Dead of sorts. And then of course you had Daniel Roebuck, who was the Santa Claus that Art got the Santa Claus suit from, and Clint Howard at the bar being his buddy. It's very nice to see all those cameos. It's good to see that Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton are making friends at all the horror conventions that they've been going to. I just want more from these movies. Did I have a great time? Of course. Seeing a movie like this with an audience is what makes this fun. All the people in my theater were wincing and oohing and ahhing at all the blood and guts. As I've gotten older, like, do I like seeing that? Yes. But I do want a little bit more of a story, and this one, it just still didn't get there for me. And Jesus Christ, I think it's time to leave Sienna alone. At this point, it's just brutal, and at this point, it's just plain mean. Like, Art is mean in this one. It's just a mean-spirited movie, much more mean-spirited than the past two, in my opinion. And even the woman with no face, like, the way she's talking to Sienna at the end, like, saying, like, everything you love is gone. It was just, dude. I get it. But, like, hey, man, Damien Leone wants to push the envelope, and he certainly did here. He killed a bunch of kids. He killed a guy in a Santa suit. We get a kid hacked up with an axe. We get a whole family slaughtered with an axe. A guy getting scalped with an X-Acto knife. We get a man's jugular cut out with a piece of glass. We get the woman with no face masturbating with a piece of glass. It's insane. We get people choked with intestines. We get decapitations. We get titties sawed off with chainsaws. We get a guy's asshole chainsawed, his penis chainsawed, and one of our main characters from the last one, Jonathan, has his face scalped. Like, dude, it's gnarly. And if you're going there strictly for the gore, kind of like what I was, you're gonna get that. And I will say, David Howard Thornton, of course, as Art the Clown, this is it for him, man. He really kills it. His facial expressions and like the way he makes it humorous every time he's doing something is a sight to behold. He owns this role. And I'm thankful they gave LaVera more to do as Sienna in this one. Her ability to process grief and having that to work with, you really see the sadness in her and just her grappling with how to make it in this society now that all this bad stuff has happened to her. It's intense, and she did a really good job here. I think the brother Jonathan, played by Elliot Fulham, his acting is just not good. Sorry, dude. I just think, like, him older now, his voice still sounds all high and squeaky. He did not do a really good job here. I mean, but all the other bit characters are kind of there as added fodder. Like, you know they're all gonna die. But the relationship between Sienna and her, like, aunt and uncle was kind of sweet. They just didn't build it up enough. Like, I don't expect great writing or great character development in these movies. Really, all we're here to see is Art the Clown kill people, and we get that. But, like I said, man, go see this movie. I'm always down to support new independent horror movies, especially one as storied as Damien Leone's Terrifier. He built this from the ground up, from the All Hallows Eve movies, crowdfunded all of these movies. It is a sight to behold what he's able to accomplish with all his practical effects. And the soundtrack in this one is great as well. Just like in the last one, we had that retro band, The Midnight, which I really love. In this one, we get a couple moments where we hear Dream Kid's song, Chrissy. I love that. But you don't hear a lot of Paul Wiley's score in this one, which I thought was unfortunate. I think his score really sets the tone well. Hell of a long runtime. That's another one with this one. It just goes on for too long. Thankfully, it's a lot shorter than the second one, but it still goes on too long. Like, it drags a little. See it for the gore. Support independent horror. It's no wonder that Art the Clown is becoming a modern horror icon among the likes of Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, all that. This shit is having its moment, and I'm here to celebrate it, even if I don't particularly think the movies are for me. But hey, in the next one, let's ease it up on Sienna a little bit. Jesus Christ, this one was so mean. And shit, I hope we finally get some more answers in part 4, which we are definitely going to get, because this one didn't answer enough for me, and overall, that's why I'm going to score this one a 3 out of 5. I loved everything I saw, don't get me wrong. I just need more suspense, more thrills, not just blood and guts, even though I do love to see it. But I'd also, you know, put 1 and 2 also at a 3 out of 5. You know, I love to see it. They're fun. I have a great time with them, but I need a little bit more. Dude, Damien Leone pushed the envelope once again. With success, I guess. It's not entirely for me, but it's gonna be for some people who just want to see some gross out shit. And you know what? I had a great time watching it, especially in the theater. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. What did you think of Terrifier 3? Overall, I still think the first one's my favorite of the bunch. Let me know in the comments down below if you like this kind of thing. Please subscribe to the channel. We do this all the time around here. Till the next one, you guys. Adios.